Well, veterans, welcome to another episode of VetClaims YouTube. If you don't know, my name is Lukas Simianer. I'm the CEO and founder of VetClaims.ai. And with me today, I have a wonderful guest, Mr. Brandon Herrera. Tell the world who you are, man.
What's going on, bro? Well, first of all, appreciate you having me on, brother. It's good to see you again, man. Well, for one, I'm a YouTuber. That's something that they're quick to remind me of. It's like a congressional candidate. No, it's YouTuber. But no, I'm a firearm manufacturer, firearm designer based right here in San Antonio. I've always been a constitutional activist, a Second Amendment advocate, and I've just always been super into politics, but never thought I would ever run for office of any kind. But just got super disappointed with the actions of my congressman, so I threw my hat in the ring, running for Texas District 23.
Perfect, and thank you. And for context, everybody, you can watch that video that we made about Tony Gonzalez right here, talking about his stolen valor claims while he's running for Congress and even in his congressional bio. If you haven't watched that yet, you should watch it before this. But I also want everybody to understand who Brandon Herrera is and what he's running for and what he stands for. So tell us, do you have a few pillars of your campaign that you're running on, sir?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So there's a lot of things. It's funny because people know me as like the gun guy, and we get at a bunch of events and things where like, okay, well, other than guns, which is funny because like at town halls and when I'm speaking about, running for this district, I almost never talk about guns. People are like, oh, that's the only thing you stand for. I'm like, I don't spend any time talking about it because I feel like people know where I stand on that.
It's almost like it's implicit. It's the Second Amendment, right?
Right. So really what I spend the most of my time talking about is some of the major issues, not only facing the country, but facing this district in particular. So Texas District 23, for those who don't know, it's the west side of San Antonio all the way to the east side of El Paso. It's currently 27 counties after redistricting. It is the biggest district in all of Texas, and it is the biggest, the district with the biggest border frontage with Mexico out of the entire country. So the border is a huge deal here. So basically just making sure our immigration, after Trump won and, things have changed quite a lot here. The difference between now and 2 years ago is night and day. We just have to codify a lot of this stuff to make sure that, stays the way it is now. And it's not just a stroke of a pen away from going back to the way it was.
Well, I think that's one of the big pride points of Texas, is not just being dependent upon the federal government. We are, in a lot of ways, our own country to a degree, and making sure that we run things right is a major piece of it.
No, 100%. And we, and you have a lot of places like, New York, California, a lot of the places in the Northeast that just don't understand what it's like to be in a remote West Texas town with no resources. You don't have LAPD. You have like 4 guys, and just being completely overrun by waves of illegals, the cartels. Brackettville, for example, Kinney County, in my district, it was the high-speed chase capital of the country during the border crisis. They had so many, tons of bailouts, tons of high-speed chases through town. It was a safety concern. It was not something that, if you're not from here, you don't really see it and you don't understand it. And it's
surprising the mainstream media didn't pick that up.
Is it surprising?
Is it surprising? We don't know. Tell us in the comments.
But stuff like that, stuff like reducing the deficit, getting our runaway spending and inflation under control. There's a lot of big things. There's a lot of big things facing the country, and so it's important to have somebody there who isn't there for the special interests, isn't there for the super PACs, the mega donors, is there to actually represent the district and know how to do it.
Now, with that, in your district is San Antonio, which is the largest military city in America, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Definitely the fastest growing military city in America, and a ton of veterans, right? A lot of my viewers are veterans. It's primarily what we're here for.
Yes.
Have you, given any thought to what the VA's role in modernization is and how you would want to affect that or help on it? And I know that's a big,
for sure,
open question, but
but for one, you did nail it. So San Antonio is military city USA. You have Fort Sam Houston, Camp Bullis, but even across the district, you have Del Rio, you have Fort Bliss out toward El Paso. It's a massive military district, and there's a lot of people that, especially in the more remote counties, there's a lot of military veterans who have retired out to West Texas who aren't getting the quality of care they were promised. And it's something that needs a severe overhaul. And one of the things that I really want to push for is if we're going to have the VA, right, and it's going to be funded, make sure we fund it appropriately and in the right ways. I really hate it when politicians pat themselves on the back because they dedicated $50 million to a new fountain. I don't think veterans who are struggling, whether it's, a back surgery, whether it's, suicidal ideation, whether it's, TBI and seizures in the middle of the night, I don't think they give a fuck about a $50 million fountain. I think they just want to be taken care of.
I can assure you we don't, and that is the biggest issue, especially in Texas, with such a high veteran density in the population. Getting into the VA alone can be a challenge.
Yeah.
Now, you yourself are not a veteran, correct?
No, sir.
But surrounded by veterans, surrounded by the veteran community here with your friends, even on your YouTube channel, and everything else it seems you've done. What have you seen regarding veterans accessing their benefits, figuring out how to get situated post-transition, that has motivated, inspired, or given you thoughts on anything you want to work on when you get to Congress?
For sure. Well, and my family has a very, very proud military history, and I got to see firsthand with things like, my grandfather and things like that, how, he was a Bronze Star recipient, and the way he was treated in the VA and the quality of care, if you can call it that, it was, straight, just hospital bed to grave. It's sickening to see the lack of care that they're getting. And I'm hearing that a lot all over the district. Like when we go out and we do these events in West Texas and we listen to people, they can't even get a call back from the office of their congressman. They can't get an email back. They're not being helped. And I think that's the bare minimum a representative, especially in a district like this, should be able to afford.
Most definitely. I mean, even recently, we had a mutual friend who went through some VA medical malpractice, and we ended up medevacing him, and because the VA didn't want to give him community care. And I think that is one of the big things that, as veterans, especially the people following my channel, we care about veterans' right to access.
Yes.
Access benefits, access health care. They shouldn't be restrained and refined. And hearing you back that means a lot to the veteran community.
100%, because, there's, again, so many of these people who, for example, I'm just going to throw it out there. Let's say you're a disabled Vietnam vet, elderly. You live 2.5 hours away from Audie Murphy Hospital in a place that does not have access to stuff like that. If you want to, do something, either see a specialist or something with your VA rating, you've got to go all the way to San Antonio, and that's just not feasible for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I don't see, if the VA is not capable of fulfilling its obligations, let's open it up and let them see their, private healthcare providers that are local to them.
Yeah.
I don't see why that's such a thing people are hesitant to do.
It's pretty wild. Sans living in Alaska, right? I think that a person having to take an entire day or 2 days off of work to go to a doctor's appointment is a pretty unreasonable expectation. It's not something we would consider quality of care, but that's what has existed. And
a lot of them, like, if they don't have their own source of transportation even.
Yeah.
They can get somebody to drive them 10 minutes across town. That's not a big deal. But it's a big ask to say, hey, can you drive me 3 hours to San Antonio?
And then wait, because the reality is a VA appointment doesn't start on time.
We just had our second suicide, I think, in the last year in the parking lot of Audie Murphy Hospital.
And I think that's actually a pretty strong campaign point to bring up. And I'm not sure if you're aware of this. I actually just learned this. I've been working in the VA claims and veteran space for over 4 years now. Been a veteran for over a decade now. In 2020 to 2021, the VA was tracking on-campus suicides. To this day, they are still tracking the data.
They haven't released it.
They haven't released it since 2021.
Yep, I was told that.
And it's pretty wild.
I don't think people would like to see what that number is.
And I think that kind of transparency is the kind of representation that veterans deserve.
Yep, at the bare minimum, tell us how bad it is.
Yeah.
So we can start looking to a solution. Because, and I know that a lot of people, their heart's in the right place.
Yeah.
When it comes to doing awareness campaigns, veteran suicide awareness and different things like that. But at the end of the day, 22 fucking push-ups isn't going to do it. No. These people actually need help and they need care, and we want to make sure they're getting the proper care and not just being shoveled pills. Yeah. That's not going to do this.
There's an active fight that's being waged right now. Me, my company, the people that are watching this video are actively engaged in it. There are nonprofits and special interest groups that are trying to make it so veterans don't have a choice in how they access their benefits. This is something that's near and dear to us and something we look forward to fighting for. On your front, when it comes to campaigning, I would like to pivot though. What is the most challenging part of running a campaign? Going from making this YouTube video, your YouTube channel, to getting into this, what has been? There's a lot.
Trying to do both, and lack of sleep and everything like that, because the district is huge. So there's certain days, I'm waking up and driving 5 hours out west, and then driving after a town hall, public, town hall or debate or something, driving another hour to do another town hall, and then another hour to meet with the sheriff of this county, all while trying to juggle, my businesses and the YouTube and the podcast and everything like that. So the answer is you don't sleep. At least not well.
And how far away today? You said earlier today you had a campaign stop. Where did you drive from?
From here, it was about 2 hours away. It was in Dilley, Texas, which is actually where my mom's family from.
So Dilley, Texas, Brandon drove down here for a last-minute opportunity to reach out to you, the veteran community, Texas veteran voters, to help you understand who he is, what he stands on, what he cares about, and how he's going to fight for our rights and fight for veterans and fight for America in general.
And not only that, not just like on the campaign trail or not just, as a capacity or in my capacity as a congressman, but this is something that's been important to me for a long time, and I've been doing this stuff already. Like we were already trying to partner with groups, and like for example, through Unsub and like a few other of my business partners, we've raised over $1 million for veteran causes because this stuff's important. It's super important and stuff we genuinely believe in. And so, as a congressman, my ability to fight that will be tenfold of what it is now. But this is still stuff that not only I can help with now, but I mean people out there, you can get involved.
Yeah.
Because God knows we need it.
Amen to that. And I think it says a lot when people do things that are not on camera, things that aren't necessarily visible. And for someone who has so much of their life already on camera, being on the Unsub podcast, having your own channels, doing these things, and now running this campaign, the efforts that you put in, aside from that are not on camera, that are just because it's what you believe in, is what speaks the loudest about you and why I'm super excited to support you in your race, man. Brandon, so how do Texas veterans support you? How do they get behind you? And when does the voting happen? When does it matter?
So early voting is on February 17th. I believe it's the 17th through the 27th. And then the election day is March 3rd. The biggest thing we can do, and the biggest thing that you all can do is word of mouth. The veteran community is very tight. We're up against a lot of money. Unfortunately, these guys, they sell out to the super PACs, they sell out to the DC special interests, and they'll just throw millions of dollars in this stuff. But if a friend of mine, especially like if somebody you served with came to you and said, hey, check out this guy, here's why I like him, that is 100 times more impactful than any TV or radio ad or anything like that. So word of mouth is crucial, and it's free.
And I think it's a big deal that you took the time today out of your busy schedule on Valentine's Day to talk to the veteran community here with me. So
I'm probably a little bit in the doghouse for that, but we'll settle that later. But,
tell wifey we're sorry, but we appreciate you.
No, I appreciate you, brother. Seriously,
Awesome.
Thank you. Again.
Thank you. Perfect. All right.
As I smack the mic with my head.
If you deep throat the boom mic,